All right, welcome back to Totally Clutch. This is the Clutch Businesses podcast and vlog. I'm Angie Beeman, your host, and I'm with Clutch Businesses. And today we're going to be talking about how to grow your business using email marketing. So, this is one of my favorite tools. I know that everybody is heavily focused on social media and posting and generating engagement and all of that kind of stuff. And I know that a lot of business owners are also focused on growing their email list and understand the importance of that. And so, what we're going to talk about today is how to harness that list that you've spent so much time and so much energy creating, and how to harness it to generate sales and grow your business. So today we've got Brianna Sexton with us. So she's with Brianna Sexton and Company, and she focuses on email marketing. So this is her specialty. So she's going to tell us all about it. So welcome to the show, Brianna.
Welcome, or thank you.
Well, I am welcome to be here also. Okay, great. So Brianna, do you want to tell us a bit about your background and the work that you do?
Sure. So a little bit about me. My running spiel is I'm a dog mom. I love French fries. I love tea and Alice in Wonderland references. And if you ever look at anything I do, normally you will see all of that. But when I started, I went to school for all things that were digital marketing before I think digital marketing was like the buzzword for it. So I got a degree in rhetoric and professional writing and marketing. Um, and then I thought, how can I use this going forward? Because I didn't want to be attached to a desk and I didn't want to do all those things. And so I took it and I started a business basically, and I started doing web copy and all the things that I really could, and social media for businesses and nonprofits, and realized that wasn't where I wanted to be. And then I fell into a group coaching program, as falling happens, and all of them were asking questions about email marketing. And so that's kind of where I got started. And it was really just researching and answering questions and then deep diving into this really fun field. And now what I focus on most is with the people that I work with is creating lifetime client relationships. So taking that entire process of not just building the list, because I think that's where a lot of people focus on, but taking that and then figuring out, okay, how do I keep them on my list? How do I keep them engaged? How do I nurture these relationships? Because that's really what email marketing is about.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, you've hit it on the head already for me. For me, what I love so much about email marketing is just you spend so much time growing this list. And I think every small business owner is told, grow your list, grow your list, grow your list, your email list. And they're not really told what to do after that, right? So I think it's so awesome. I think it's so cool that's what you focus on, because I think that there are a lot of people that just that need that, right? And they're just not, they're aware, they're like, I grew this list and now what? So cool. Well, why don't, before we dive too far, do you mind just telling us, like, giving a quick overview of what email marketing is?
Sure. So for me, the way that I look at email marketing is, I like to use an analogy, so I'm going to use this one. Email marketing for me is kind of like inviting people to a party and then hosting it in your own space. So to translate that in business terms, email marketing is essentially just building customer relationships in their inbox, and providing them relevant information that not only helps engage and give them value, but also allows you to create a platform where you can sell. So it's both sides of that, marketing and sales, but it doesn't have to be as old age advertising as I think a lot of people make it. And now there's that whole push for hairy scary and does it feel salesy and gross and all those things. But at its core, it's relevant information that you're giving people into their inbox that they're signing up for.
Yeah, great. Yeah, cool. So I know we've kind of talked a little bit about how people are not using email marketing right now. So generating a list, but not really doing anything with it. So the people that are using it and maybe not using it to its full potential still, how does that, or what do most people use, or what does email marketing look like for most companies? So I'm thinking like before they work with somebody like you, what does it look like? What are they doing?
Most of the people that I've worked with, I'm just based on that experience, a lot of it is they build their list and they send out information, right? Because that's about the extent that people say is you build your list and then you send out consistent emails. Mm-hmm. And so it's normally to an entire general list, the same content, not hitting all the same points. Some of them may have a nurture sequence, as far as that's concerned, to welcome people in. And then after that, they have some idea or semblance, and they're trying to sell in their emails, but they're not sure when to sell. And the way that they're selling, it comes off rather jarringly.
Yeah.
Because they're putting out value-based content, and then all of a sudden it's like buy for a week, and they're like, when did this happen? So it becomes this jarring process, and then it's that frustrating cycle of doing it all over again, hoping that you're going to get sales within your email. Is a lot of what I see.
Yeah, so I'll use your reference or your example of for you, email marketing is like a party. You're welcoming people into your home and hosting these conversations and things like that. So that's the idea of email marketing, or that's email marketing at its best. And maybe email marketing with opportunities is like kind of like a getting invited without knowing, getting invited to a party where, like a purse party or something like that, right? Where you show up, there's maybe cocktails, there's some food, and all of a sudden you're sitting down or maybe not a purse party, but like they used to do this for like timeshares and things like that, right? Like people invite you over and all of a sudden you're sitting down to talk about a $10,000 or $20,000 timeshare and you had no idea, right? So is that that's kind of like what you're seeing before how people are using email marketing before they work with somebody like you?
Yeah, it's kind of like that surprise party that gets thrown together at the last minute, and they're like, it happened. The person liked it, right?
Yeah.
Everyone survived. There was no food poisoning. Yeah, and then after working with me, so I have like this system that I like to use. I call it a tea party. And it's focusing on that invite so they know what they're coming into. Mm-hmm. And then like planning all of the entertainment, because at a wedding, at any type of party, people talk about food, people talk about the music, right? The experience that they had overall. And then at the end, there's this ask, whether it's in a direct sales party or a tea party or whatever, there's an invitation and an appreciation that leads to an action. So that's kind of like the system that I think done right is a whole lot easier, but it also allows for extra communication and a more fun experience.
Yeah, that's great. So what does that look like specifically? So can you give us like a specific example of kind of this tea party idea and what that would look like for somebody's sequence?
Sure. So the sequence is more the E or the entertainment portion of it. But the overall, I'll do big overall. So starting with the invite, this is all the touch points where people come in. So for us, it may be our podcast where we say, hey, if you want more insider tips, go ahead and join our email list where you'll get XYZ, right? Making it very specific that this is the who, where, what, when, why, and how of the party that you're coming to, right? And then from that point, they opt in, and that's where we get into the engagement and the entertainment. And so building that part is really understanding all of the touch points that led people to come in. So if you are a business to business, or you're kind of like, for me, email marketing, teaching people how to use email marketing, it may be that that entire nurture sequence is, I know how my audience is struggling with building like, know, and trust within that first sequence. So I'm going to put together a sequence that builds my authority on all of the thoughts and the objections that other people are going to have to build that experience. So I might talk about like, know, and trust and what that means, and getting over like how to tell a story while building authority and building like, know, and trust, and what like, know, and trust means separately, and how to establish authority and expertise, and to do it in a way that doesn't feel salesy, and what salesy really means, to take them on this journey to then, after they get to that point, then the next part of their journey happens, the next part of their transformation, whether it's providing an offer, whether it's sending them to a resource, what have you. So that's kind of the engagement part. And then at that end of sequence is that ask or that action, which allows them to either say yes or no to the next part of whatever that looks like working with you.
Sure. Yeah, that's awesome. So you're kind of using, in some ways, I mean, I think a lot of people are familiar with sales psychology in business. And so it sounds like you're using kind of sales psychology. So you're figuring out, doing some research to figure out what their common objectives or objections are going to be, and maybe what the problem is that they're trying to solve. And so you're addressing that. You're giving them some information to show them that you're on their side, that you're there for them, and you're there for them whether they buy from you or not, right? Because you're not selling anything to them quite yet. But once you get them kind of comfortable and familiar, and talk them through kind of all of the issues that they might bring to the table, or all of the concerns that they might bring to the table, then you've got an option for them that they can choose or not choose. Does that sound kind of like what you're working with?
Yeah. So
Okay.
sales psychology is super huge in this whole process. And I think a little bit, for me, just like throwing my background in there, the technical writing, it's about creating that spirit experience, that user experience, and really understanding like how the platform works as far as like building connections in an intimate way, and then also understanding like the process that happens, that needs to happen, also influences the other things. So it's the feeling that you get being in the platform, plus the feeling that you get having somebody kind of keep you accountable throughout that process.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's I think a really important point to make too, is that, so I think, probably a lot of people watching or listening to this have seen those like massive flowcharts of an email sequence that are just like, I mean, even for me, I love that stuff, and it's overwhelming to look at that. But so these massive flowcharts and these massive sequences, and so I think we've used the word sequence a few times: nurture sequence, welcome sequence, all of that kind of stuff. It's basically just a chain of emails that are triggered off of a certain event that's sent to somebody automatically. So like Brianna was saying, you've got somebody that opts in to something that you posted on your podcast, and so that they came in through that podcast. And you can, in a lot of the programs that are available now, you can tag them by their interests. And so you're not just, and Brianna, you had mentioned this at the beginning, that I think the old way of email marketing was to just send out a newsletter once a month, or, to everybody on your list, right? So whether they're interested or not in what you're talking about, they're going to get it. And all of most of the programs the email programs that are available now allow you to really specify somebody's interests. And so that might mean that somebody from, that two people that have very different interests might still get the same email, right? But it applies to both of them in some way, shape, or form. So I think that's why email marketing to me is so exciting now, is that you can really specify people's interests, and then you can talk directly to those people instead of like these, here's what I do, and here's what's going on, and here are the events that we have coming up. Like, sure, people might be interested in those, but the people that are really going to listen are the people that specifically that event or class or whatever specifically caters to. So like if you're doing, Brianna, you focus on coaches and service-based businesses, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And we actually started chatting because I was interested in somebody that was doing email marketing for e-commerce. So I'm just using that as an example to say that, like, say we have, we're working off of my list, and I'm doing a class for service-based people. I don't know what the class would be, but a service-based person. But I've also got people on my list that are e-commerce oriented. I don't want to send that class to the e-commerce people because it's not something that's interesting to them, right? It's not relevant to what they do in their business. But I hopefully, behind the scenes, will have all of these people kind of sorted out and identified. And so I would just send that notice, or, let the service-based people know about that upcoming class, right? So I don't create this noise for people that don't really want to, that, aren't going to be interested in the first place.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. When I was working with nonprofits, even just doing social media and like seeing all the events, and I was like, wait, what does your email look like? And it was just like any event that they came to, they all came onto the same list. And I'm like, well, how do you know which ones want like grant information versus all of this other stuff? And then I was like, and you wonder why your open rates are really low.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's like going to the dentist when you need to go see your OBGYN. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's a great example. And I mean, I guess, so, that brings up another point, open rates. So not only are you creating noise for people that don't want to listen, if you're just sending out these blanket emails, you're also impacting your open rate. And do you want to share a little bit about why that matters? So what impact a low open rate has to your marketing efforts?
Wow, that's a really big question. So the biggest part, I think, is if your open rates are really low, then it really doesn't matter if you're spending a whole lot of time with your content because people aren't opening it. Mentally, that's like super draining as a business owner when you know that you have really valuable content and you're in a space where you have a service or you have a product that you can provide and nobody's getting to it. But it also, the less relevant content that you have leading to those open rates, and open rates are just based on the number of people that you have on your list, the number of people who actually open them, for those who are new to email marketing. Yeah. But that also affects your deliverability. So if you are sitting in a place where you had really high open rates and people are coming in and they're reading your content, along with like SEO or visibility on Facebook and whatever algorithms they have, the system picks up on that and says, oh, people are opening this. I'm going to put this in your primary folders.
Yeah.
Whereas the less that people are opening, the more people are unsubscribing, just keeping those in there, then whatever email service providers being like Gmail or Yahoo or what are the other ones? Outlook. Those types of.
I was going to say Hotmail.
Hotmail, yes,
Yeah.
I have one of those. But it looks at it because AI is really good at screening things now, and it says, people aren't really opening that, so we're going to push it towards the other folder. We're going to push it towards the spam folder, towards the promotions folder. And then people don't even see the efforts that you're putting in because they're stuck in this other folder that basically Gmail or Outlook or Google or Yahoo has determined that you don't want to see anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And that's awesome too. So you brought up another really great point that, I mean, we were talking about open rates, but if you're sending stuff to people that, again, is not relevant to them and their interests, they're also probably more likely to unsubscribe, right? So they may be a really great prospect for you in a different space or for a different thing that you've got going on. But if they're unsubscribing from your list because you're sending them stuff that they don't want, they're out. They're gone. They're no longer a prospect for you.
Yeah, it messes with relationships, which is why I focus a lot with people on like building that journey and understanding their customers' needs. And then in the intricacy of all of that strategy is the tags and creating segments and different lists and communities, I guess, within your email list so that you have relevant information and enough information that you can say, these people are coming to me because they want events on X versus these people just want to listen to my podcast and get information on how to build their business. So I think that's huge as relevancy as far as keeping that relationship alive.
Yeah, that's great. Cool. Can we talk about some results? So what results have you seen from people kind of before and after working with you or fleshing out their email marketing strategy?
Gotcha. The number one is clarity, a lot of clarity around their business and their customers, and how to navigate that process, which has led to higher open rates, which has led to higher click-through rates, which we haven't talked about, but that's just of the people on your list who are on your list and opening, how many of them are clicking on links and building that, and strategically placing like calls to action so that people actually take action and go learn more. I think I've done an audit where I just looked at copy on an email campaign before it got sent, and within hours of sending that email, people have had like multiple calls booked.
Wow.
Or an email list that was fairly stagnant, sending like a week of emails that were relevant to a prospect, had higher open rates than when I started, or more specifically taking a segment and targeting just a segment rather than the whole list. Within that also created higher open rates and higher click-through rates because that targeted segment was more relevant to the people who were in there, so they were more likely to open that information in general. But it's really understanding the biggest one I've gotten is my clients have gotten clarity around who their people are in a sense that they didn't have before, and how to make it super simple, because it doesn't have to be like a super big, complicated, overwhelming flowchart of of a funnel, but making it like super clear. This is who I want to work with. This is how I can help them. This is the path to take to get them to their transformation, and then laying it out in a way that gets them to their goal, gets them the open rates that they want, builds that relationship that they want, and also have people booking discovery calls and sales calls and purchasing their programs.
Mm-hmm. That's great. That's great. Yeah, and have you seen revenues increase as a result of what you do?
I have seen separate campaigns where that's absolutely an option. Targeting, just in general, email marketing has a greater chance of revenue as far as comparison to social, for sure. I've seen way higher, if not some of my clients who mostly make their revenue just from email marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's...
Yeah. Can we talk about the relationship between, or is there a relationship between email marketing and advertising?
Advertising being
like paying for prospects, paying for visibility.
Gotcha. So yes, but there is a relationship. So when I work with campaigns, if it's like Facebook ads coming into email, which is great for building lists, but paid advertisement, much like social media, for what I've seen is more like a storefront, mm-hmm. right? So it's really bringing people into a space with tactical ideas of how to just hitting the pain points that get people into your space, right? So it's that invite piece of it. And then email marketing is once they come into that storefront, once they come into that bakery and they've had a sense of all the smells, really cultivating that relationship, getting them all the way to checkout. Yeah. So that is how I see the relationship between email marketing and advertising. It's all a really big circle. You have your as one of my mentors says, you have your owned media, which is your email list and all of that email marketing. You have your paid media, and then you have your earned media, which is shared, all of the stuff that gets shared, and it all works together in this ecosystem to then create the marketing that's going to help you build the relationships, which is going to have the increase in revenue and keep your business growing and scaling.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think I just want to make a plug here too, that I am not an email marketing expert, but one of the reasons why I love email marketing so much is I think it's a way that businesses can actually reduce their ad spend or make their ad spend more profitable, right? So maybe they don't cut back on their ad spend, but they're producing more results from that, or they're using it more. Because one of the things that I've seen, especially with like e-commerce businesses, is so everybody that buys from them is on their email list from that point on, right? Like they have carte blanche to continue to reach out to those people. And I see people, e-commerce businesses do that. So they do reach out to them, but they reach out to their existing customer base in pretty generic ways. So here's, we've got this new product coming in, or here's our monthly newsletter, or here's a discount code, or, something like that. And all of that is awesome, right? Like, to me, there is definitely a space for that, and it's a necessary thing to do. But I see them missing opportunities to, like, when they get in a new skirt, right? They don't email the people that have purchased skirts from them in the past, and say, hey, we just got this in, or you know what, we're doing a sale on skirts, right? Like, I mean, this is such a silly example, but like there's ways that, or maybe they've always bought, you could get as specific as knowing what colors they prefer, right? Like, so if they're always buying blue, like you can reach out to them on a regular basis. Hey, you bought this. I think you might actually like this as well, right? So you're generating more sales from that list, and you're not relying on them to come back to you. You're reaching out, like proactively reaching out to them and saying, hey, this is what we're working on. Or maybe they only buy sustainable things, or they're really interested in sustainable products, right? Like all of that is a way to, you know, somebody's interests, and you and they want to buy things, right? Like they want to nurture those interests, and so they're going to be interested to hear about what else you have like that. And so, you know, rather than reaching out to or taking out another Facebook ad to get another sale, they're reaching out to a list of people that they've already paid to get in the door. So, you know, basically everything beyond that, like they've already paid their dues on that, and they can get more revenue out of what they've already paid for, instead of paying more to increase their revenue. And I know that that's kind of like, you know, it feels kind of gross to sometimes to talk about it that way, about these you know, customers and clients, and getting more from them. But I think the important thing is, and you've, you know, been talking about this, that they came to you for a reason initially, right? Like there was something about you and what you offer, that, or your company offers, that spoke to them, that they resonated with. And so they, you know, they want, they'll likely want to hear more from you. But it's just, you know, oftentimes I think we get kind of hesitant to continue to, I guess, to continue to reach out, to continue to ask, because it does feel like an ask. It feels like we're asking for something from them, instead of thinking about it like, you know, we do have something to give them.
Yeah. Not wanting to feel pushy in
Yeah.
sales. I I was reading a study, and I think this is really fun. It said that 73% of people prefer email to social media, texting, as far as that. And then I think even within the millennial range specifically, most of them, about 50%, said that they wanted to be sold to through email, which I thought was absolutely fun. But yeah, so it's
That's great.
yeah, I think it's a great way to do sales. And who was it? Daniel Pink. He says that sales are human, and they really are. It's our way to get people enrolled and engaged in all of these different ideas, but they're ideas that they want. Like, you're not going to be mad if you have an iPhone and Apple sends you 3.5 updates on all of the things that the iPhone can do, and the upgrades that they have, and how you can better use your iPhone to do X, Y, and Z. Or if your favorite color is blue and you like skirts and your birthday is next Tuesday, sending an email that's like, hey, we have a gift for you, and the font is in blue, which is their favorite color. And they have 3.5 options, which are based on their preferences, that are going to get them exactly where they want to go. So I think, yeah, it's that relevancy piece. It really is to building that relationship.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you, Brianna, so much for being here today and for sharing this. I mean, I really think we have absolutely just scratched the surface of what you can do with email marketing, but hopefully it, you know, it gives you some insight that there is more. You can be doing more with what you already have. And, you know, I'm going to put Brianna's website up here, so you can find her if you're interested in working with her and finding out more about how you can harness the power of what you've already created and what you've already built. So you can reach her or find her at briannasexton.com. And yeah, I thank you so much. It's been really incredible. And I obviously love this topic and would love to talk about it until we're blue in the face. But I think we've given enough to kind of whet people's appetites. So thank you, Brianna. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Angie, for having me. This has been awesome.
Good. Well, have a great rest of your day, and thanks for tuning in to Totally Clutch.
Thank you.